I have no doubt that many of the same people that are complicit in the genocide in Gaza would have no problem visiting a school named after the very people that they were complicit in murdering 30 years later and saying we're sorry for what happened. But it's important for us to be present in the moment in the most meaningful way for one another. And one of the things that makes this framework that we're speaking about here of identity so important is that the Prophet, peace be upon him, did not simply give labels. He identified with and amongst the people for whom he was responsible. And ultimately, in his absence, we are responsible for each other. And it's important for us to not simply scroll past any human tragedy that takes place. Let me take this a step further. As I was saying, just before that break, that I think that every single person of conscience, when they see the African teams playing in general, they feel a sense of solidarity, that they wanted to see the success of those very teams because they feel a deep connection to the generations of exploitation in the continent of Africa as a whole. Why is it that we don't find ourselves driven to the places that are presently experiencing some of the worst pain that we have ever heard of in our lifetimes, just because there isn't sufficient media coverage? Are we waiting for a museum to be built? Or are we stepping into our Muslim prerogative, our human prerogative, to be there for one another in the ways that our Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us through his example of being there for us? And so this human solidarity that is born out of that faith-based circle of social responsibility is one that requires us to be on time as well. And so, on behalf of the world that failed you in real time, I'm sorry. And I think that the people of Bosnia are owed an apology on a consistent basis for the way that the world let them down. And you should be the first to push back when some of the same parties that were complicit in your genocide come with bouquets of flower in their hands today and say that this is not enough, especially if those same hands that carry bouquets of flower today are carrying the guns that are shooting our brothers and sisters in Palestine or in Sudan or elsewhere where genocide is taking place in the world today. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Omar, for this speech. It's always great to have you in Sarajevo. We actually met 5-6 years ago. That was your first time in Sarajevo. Okay, it was for the audience. It was a Russell Tribunal for Kashmir, where there was a group of scholars, intellectuals from around the world who debated in a let's say non-formal, non-binding way, but who debated about what's happening in Kashmir. And why I'm mentioning this is because we've also been actually in this library when you spoke about Gaza a few years later, and then tomorrow is Srebrenica anniversary, and you're here again. And why I'm saying this is because there were some notions during the past 2 days. There was a lot of talk about Islamophobia, Muslim hate, and there were some ideas that were passed that said that Islamophobia is just any kind of racism. It could be explained as racism or as any other kind of hate. Why I'm mentioning Kashmir, Gaza, and Srebrenica, I can mention many other things of Muslims in the world and of crimes done against Muslims, often systematically. Do you think that these notions are correct, or is there deeper hate towards Muslims and then itself Islam that we could be talking about? And let's open this discussion with this.
So there are people that are far more qualified than me here, of course, to engage in this discussion. But what I'll say is that if you pay attention to the words of the oppressors, They speak of Islam as a disease that once it infects a people, the only way to eradicate the disease is to carry the people that are bearing that disease. And whether you look at the war criminals here, one by one, I mean, I was reading through those statements, in fact, just last night, or the war criminals today that are engaging in the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people, for example. They speak of Islam as a disease, they speak of religion as a disease that has infected people. And the idea here is that once you convince a critical mass that these people are so inherently regressive and dangerous because of the faith that nourishes them and that nurtures them, that the only way to deal with them is complete brutality, because if we don't kill them, then they will arrive at your doorstep, because this is an infectious disease. Then that's a unique type of bigotry. And so, no, I think that Islamophobia transcends racialized bigotry. I definitely think there is a racialized element of Islamophobia, for sure. But, you know, when I'm driving down a highway in the United States and I see a billboard that says they would kill you too, in order to derive sympathy for the brutality towards the Palestinians 8,000 miles away, then that tells me that what they're actually saying to them is that that disease has spread. And you can see it in the Islamophobia that is spreading in the United States. By the way, one of the most ironic things that I saw, I was on my way to visit an ICE prison a few months ago in the middle of nowhere in Prairieland, Texas. And for those of you that are familiar with small town America, I mean, usually there's a Walmart and a few houses, a couple of gas stations, and some old billboards, and that's pretty much it, right? And I'm out there in Prairieland, Texas. I'm about to get to the ICE detention center, and there is a billboard, and the one billboard that's there is "Stop the Sharia takeover now." I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, that's what you're concerned about here? Like, that's what you're thinking about here? But in reality, Islamophobia is not just uniquely deviant from other types of bigotry. It's also a unique deflection that works, right? And so it is a boogeyman that allows for people that are actually perpetrators of your despair and your poverty and so many other things to scapegoat another group of people altogether. And so, no, it is definitely a unique type of bigotry. There's a reason why it has legs. There's a reason why it works in so many different parts of the world. And that has to be recognized, or else we're going to fail to recognize the mechanisms that continue to allow for Srebrenica and